supported by sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also, hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get notice of each and every one of our live feeds. Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App, make sure you contribute to the PayPal, make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions that keep this thing going. Thanks. What's up, you guys? This is Dennis Sperling, and I'm back at you like a 6'4" Chevrolet on things, hitting the corner, baby. What's happening? I hope everybody's having a great day, man. I hope you guys are enjoying your day. I'm happy to be here today. I have on rare occasions when I'm confused, because I'm definitely confused about this whole divester thing. I mean, it's just confusing to me. You black and you're a racist against black people? I mean, I don't know. I don't profess to know everything, and that's why I ask questions, And so, as you guys have seen, I had a young lady on here a few weeks back. She referred to herself as the savage divester. And so, I had to put that up for a little while because, I'm like, what? I don't get it, So, I did a little research, and I had a young lady. Her name is Chez. I probably mispronounced her name. Charde. Chez. She'll tell you what her name is in a minute. But she did a really interesting video about this, and she used some of the highlights from the video I did with the lovely young divester with the Confederate flag on her face. And I decided to invite this young lady to my broadcast, so you dudes can look at her first of all, because she's a good-looking woman. Okay, she's a good-looking woman. She's in Canada, so unless you have a passport and no felonies, you can't get up there. Okay, but what I'm saying is, she's knowledgeable about the subject matter, and I like to bring people in who can help educate me on this, because I hope I'm not saying what I think I'm saying. And that is a group of lovely ladies who've decided to basically allow themselves to be used as a hate group, to allow themselves in their rhetoric and their pain or whatever, their hard feelings for brothers that all women have to deal with, by the way. I would hate for them to end up on the Southern poverty hate group list and get their flight privileges, taken away from them, and end up having the FBI knocking at their door. But, so I want some questions. And this young lady has dealt with a lot more of this subject than I have. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Chez, Charde.
Chez Charde.
Was that like French or something like that?
Yeah, Chez Charde. That's French.
I get a little Spanish in, but the French, I can't do that. But welcome to the podcast. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for taking your time out. And a little bit about yourself, please. Introduce yourself so they can. And she's clear. You're not a divester, are you? You're not a divester.
No, definitely not.
Okay, so you like a divester investigator.
Yes.
Okay, so I appreciate that. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, and how you end up delving into this very interesting subject.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This is definitely a hot topic on my channel. So yeah, Chez, I am a femininity channel that actually likes men. That's that. So I'm a femininity channel. There I like to tackle tough topics with truth, essentially deal with different issues that I think women actually encounter on a day-to-day topic, not just the cute, luxury level up hypergamy stuff, but actually real life. So that's my focus. I also have some content that's, just geared towards the Black community, certain things we talk about faith, church life. So there's a mixture, but ultimately, like I said, I'm a femininity channel that talks to women, primarily Black women, and then I kind of mix other subjects in there as I feel it's relevant. And then as far as divesting, I kind of stumbled upon it, to be honest. It happened by default. Honestly, I've been on here for a little over a year now, and I just was kind of doing my thing, posting content, just whatever. And then I started to notice trolls, essentially. I started to get these certain nameless, faceless avatars who were spewing certain things. And then I would get a few, avatars of Black women, but they were I just was seeing this hatred, and it didn't really make any sense to me. And then, to be honest, like I talked to my husband about it, and he was like, "Hey, you should look this up." And then I just discovered this entire world of, divesting and divester adjacent content, which at the end of the day, if you see right now, or at least what I see, many of the femininity, especially Black femininity channels, are divester, at the very least divester adjacent. That's what I've seen. And so that's why I kind of took it upon myself to really start to investigate it, because I'm like, love it or hate it, this is the kind of propaganda that's being spewed to Black women. And I say propaganda because it's one-sided. And I think it would be a disservice for me to call myself a femininity channel and not talk about the things that women are actually encountering or hearing. So that's kind of what got me into that whole topic.
All right. And so you happen to run across, and I'm going to let this play because I don't think everybody's seen this.
Yeah.
And
sure.
And she's taken, fellas, by the way. You heard her say she got a husband. That's a good one. I have a husband and I love my husband. She basically and so shout out to you for being a married woman. That's always a great idea, to take advice from someone who is married. Now, I don't want to get too far into your personal business, but is your husband Black or African descent? So you got a Black woman married to a Black man. Praise Moses. Look at that. This is somebody who's talking about femininity. This is someone you should put on the top of your list to listen to as far as advice. Okay.
Fair point.
But I want you guys to check this out. Let me know if you can hear this. Hit the number 1 button, folks. I'm gonna let you hear. Now here's it. Let me lay the foundation. This is not the subject that I was talking about. I was talking about something else, and this lady just popped up with the Confederate flag, and I'm like, let me hear what she got to say. Let's just go ahead, and because I believe it's the internet. If you want to play crazy, I'll play right along with you. But at a certain point, I recognized that this woman was not crazy. She really means this stuff. The fact that you would come on this broadcast knowing that I have about 150,000 viewers every month, so 150,000 people are likely to see this. That lets, and you start, and this woman, if you listen to her, she's a very intelligent, college-educated woman, which makes it even more dangerous as far as I'm concerned. But you can listen for yourself. You guys make sure you hit the number 1 button when you check in. And shout out to Urban Eagle. Thank you so much. Let's check this out. You were raised by a Black woman in this toxic culture. That means that you probably have that same toxic culture embedded in you. So you may do the same thing that these other women are doing.
Oh, no. That's why I'm not out here having a bunch of kids by different men. Those are the mammies.
I get it. But what I'm saying is, here's the thing. She referred to other Black women who are having children by Black men as mammies. And I understand the term mammy and where it came from. And you know, and how it has its historical background in the American South. And oftentimes they would use Black women or African American women to basically be the wet nurses for the white children, you know, who belong to the slave planter, who the slave masters, offspring, cousins, whatever. And so they would basically be the wet nurses, you know, but they've taken this term and referred to that as women who are basically, what does she refer to as, black male oriented or black male something or another. It's just odd. What were your thoughts when, I mean, just look at this spectacle, right? What were your thoughts when you first saw this, Miss? Can I say the name? Chez?
Charde.
Chez Charde, Miss
Yeah.
Chez. What was this? What were your thoughts when you saw this, Chez?
Honestly, I wasn't surprised, only because one, this particular content creator has actually commented on a few of my videos, so I'm familiar with her. You know, I have a general understanding of her, and again, my opinion, but what I've seen from Divester and Divester adjacent channels is that I think some of them at the end of the day really just want attention. And sometimes they go off for the shock factor. So this to me felt very much on brand with what they do, what some of them are about, which is this literally just trying to get attention. Because honestly, I think if a person truly is a divester and very much does care about integrating and infiltrating, right, into the white community or non-Black community, but they usually talk about what, let's just be honest, they usually primarily talk about white men. If that is the focus, then you're not going to spend your free time going on Black male platforms. Right. And you're not going to spend your free time going on platforms such as mine, a Black femininity channel, and calling me mammy, and also engaging with other Black men or Black women on my channel if you have in fact divested from the Black community. So to me, that was not surprising.
But see, here's the thing. I'd like to believe that this was just a big joke. And I presented this young lady with the opportunity to say, oh yeah, I'm just kidding. But she never did. She believes she had the opportunity to say, yeah, I'm just attention seeking, but she didn't. And the thing is, there are people out there who will believe her. They'll believe that and they'll run with that. And see, since that time period, you know, a lot of my subscribers have said, yeah, these are the women that are saying abort Black male baby.
Oh, yeah.
This is what they're saying. Mm-hmm. They're saying this out loud. Mm-hmm. And, you know, maybe here's the thing. You're as a person who's in law enforcement, as an attorney, this is hate here.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're referring to Black men as bullet bags. I have Black sons. I'm a Black man. You're saying abort Black male babies. This is hate, and you're wearing the paraphernalia of a hate group. You might as well be wearing a swastika.
Absolutely.
Do they not realize this, ma'am?
Well, and here's the thing. No, I don't think it's a joke. To be clear, I'm not saying that it's a joke. I think they very much they believe this. It's almost like a religion for some of these ladies. Like I have seen chat groups of women celebrating Black men being beaten by police, like saying, oh, this turns me on. Wow, that's so sexually attractive, and being like, oh, I thought I was the only one. I've seen some very deep, disgusting, dark content. I mean, you have Divester Zealot that has the picture of the Black man hanging from the noose as her profile picture, and it's still up. I don't know why it's still up, but it is. And if you listen to her content, she is very, I think if you want to get a real sense of like just how they think gutter no holds barred, just looking at some of her content, because she's very radical in her language. But so no, I don't think it's a show for some of them. For some of them it is. I do think that there's some profiles that are they're trolling, they're trying to sow seeds of discord. But I do honestly believe there are a group of women who just, for whatever the reason, hate themselves, hate the men, and for whatever reason would rather divest to, you know, something unhealthy. So
you know, I get that. I get that. And see, here's the problem. Some people will take that seriously. You know, there's enough. We had an issue. If you recall, I don't know how familiar you are with American politics, but Barack Obama, before he became president, there was a rise in what was called the Tea Party Republicans. Mm-hmm. And the Tea Party basically they took over the Republican Party, and and they haven't been able to get rid of them since, because they were spewing this rhetoric, this black guy, we're not going to cooperate with him. And now they have a problem that they can't really get rid of. And so, you know, my thing is, do these young ladies who are African American realize what type of Frankenstein monster they're creating? You see, I don't think they realize that there are people like myself who are in law enforcement. There are judges who watch this. There are members of the FBI, CIA, because anybody who's on the internet, especially someone with more than 5,000 or 10,000 followers, you're going to have the FBI watching you, especially if you're a black person. And so I don't think they realize that. But let me share this. This is Andrew. Andrew's pretty much just a random white guy, hit me up on the internet and just said he appreciated what I was doing. And so I brought him on because I wanted to get his impression of this whole divester movement, because at the end of the day, I'm not the target audience. He is.
You've
so let's
seen
hear
the
what
entire 30-minute video with this young lady speak. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you know, it's shocking. And that wasn't even the subject that I was on that night. She just came on and she basically just all-tied the live broadcast. But give us your first impression of it when you saw it.
Well, the Confederate flag mast was my initial reaction, like, wow, that was interesting to see a black woman wearing something like that. And that was pretty shocking at first. And then,
now let me give you guys a translation. When white people say interesting, that's like, oh damn. Okay, just so that's a white people saying, like, oh damn, interesting. When white people say stuff like interesting, or here's my favorite, good for you, that means effing right. Okay, just so y'all can that's the black people translation. So him saying that was interesting, that was oh damn. All right, so just put some emphasis on that. But let's get back to what Andrew is saying.
Just her repeated, like casual hatred toward black men. Just nothing good to say about anything. Like you were very like calm and relaxed about the whole thing, and she just very just like using words I never heard before, like Blakkistan things, and I didn't even know what divester means as far as what she was talking about.
Now, based on your analysis, man, what is Blakkistan? Because I couldn't quite get this lady to give me a definition. What is this term Blakkistan, and where does it come from?
That's a great question. So how I've come to understand Blakkistan is, well, one, the reason you're never going to get a direct answer is because I think very few women are willing to own it, But what I've come to understand Blakkistan mean is essentially all of the issues inherent or, talked about within the Black community, and usually the assumption is that it's all men's fault. I want to reiterate that essentially all of the issues that are inherent to the Black community that we can find in the Black community are Black men's fault. And that is the foundation that I guess fuels this divester ideology, or at the very least, that is the excuse that these women use to give them an out to divest, because these men aren't worth anything. They're dusties. They haven't built anything. They're not useful. They're drug addicts, yada, yada. Like I literally had a divester come into my channel who to school me on this. But it's a video I have, but she essentially came on and tried to define what Black male worship is. That's another idea, that Black men have been worshipped and that they have been pedestalized. And that is another reason the community is in a bad state. So that's essentially what it is. Everything bad related to the Black community, that's Blakkistan. And also, by the way, Black women are not responsible for that. It's Black men's fault. I want to reiterate that. It is Black men's fault. That is the definition of Blakkistan as I've come to know it.
So it's a blame shifting.
Absolutely.
Thing. Right, they're accepting no responsibility for anything.
Not from what and the reason I say this is because I know that anytime I try to have a conversation, whether it's in comments, I've brought in divesters, at least two, who we've had like a personal, they came onto my podcast, we had a personal conversation, a few callers, but two where I spoke with them at length, and anytime I would pin them on a point, they would move the goalpost every single time.
Okay.
I've yet to see one that's been like, you know what? Yeah, there are Black men who do bad things. There are Black women. Like, I don't see a reasonable discourse behind this whole topic.
Okay. Let's I want to get some more in for Andrew, because again, you know, Andrew's the target audience. He seems to be the type of gentleman that the middle class, upper middle class, educated, clearly white. He is not trying to be anything other than white, and I appreciate him for that. I told Andrew before, he's the designated white guy in the class that will answer on behalf of all white people like they do us. And so I appreciate, but Andrew's got a great nature. He's pretty cool. So I know he understands that humor. But let's go ahead and hear what he has to say, because it's very insightful coming from him looking at this. Let's continue listening. You guys hit the #1 button.
And it was just a continuous, repeated, just a hateful message he was trying to spew. And it's, I personally, like I was telling you, I could never date someone like that. Like, she was probably very physically attractive. She said she was a fitness model at one point, but like I had Black friends. Like, imagine me bringing her around to them. What would I'm likely to get my butt kicked, you know? So I thought it was a very.
Let me just say, that was the best use of my Black friends that I've ever heard anybody use. My Black friends, I appreciate his use of Black friends. That was an acceptable use. They'll kick my butt for bringing this interesting person around. Let's continue listening.
Very distasteful interview, and I thought you handled it very well, sir.
Well, yeah, you know, I try to let people air their opinions. You know, I want to hear it, because oftentimes people fall for the talking points, and then they get outraged by the talking points, and then it ends up in a shouting match, and you never really understand who you're dealing with. Now, what the first thing you mentioned was that when you saw the Confederate flag. Now, this is going to sound like a silly question.
Now, you've heard this, and if you guys want to check this out, the link is in the chat room. A lot of people, I live in Texas, and I don't know if you know much about Texas, but Texas is pretty much the same Texas that it's always been, especially outside of the major cities. If you're not in Houston, meaning you're not in Houston, the city, and you're in the surrounding area, you're in Texas from 1830, okay? Everywhere between Houston, Dallas, and Austin is still Texas. It is very red. The further north you go, the further south, the further west, the further east from the cities, it's still Texas. I know what the Confederate flag means when I see it, okay? And it doesn't mean we're looking at history and we're celebrating our freedom of the South. That is not what it means. What it means is, get off my goddamn porch and don't date my daughter. That's what it means. Okay, that's what it means, and there's a few N-words in there too.
Yeah, right.
What I'm saying is, you know, so for her to come on with the Confederate flag, whether she knows it or not, that's a symbol of hate. Why is it that they're trying to pitch this to people like myself who actually live in the American South and understands what the Confederate flag means? Where is she going with that? How do they think they can get away with that? And better yet, why is there not more pushback from Black people on YouTube against this hate mongering?
And that's a great question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. As far as the flag, again, I would say, based upon my interactions and my own research on divesting, again, I think there is a big portion of them who legitimately want attention. There are some women who I think they traffic so much in self-hatred that they believe this, and they have, you know, Miss Anne syndrome, for lack of a better term, where they think if they can wear a blonde weave or get blue or green contacts and do their version of what they think a white woman is, that they can be white. They separate themselves so much from Blackness that they try to do that. And so again, because they hate themselves, they just end up taking that hate and then going the far other direction. Like I literally have a video about this, divesting the white supremacy. And so I think there's those women who really are self-hating and they really do want nothing to do with Black people. And so they'll just find themselves with a Proud Boy and they think that's a win. There's other ones, again, who legitimately want attention. They care nothing about Brad. They just see I call it Brad, right? That's the term. They care nothing about white men. They care nothing about the culture.
Brad, you're referring to white men. That's
what they use. Or Zaddy, Brad. That's kind of the terms that they'll use. Zaddy, Brad, right?
I heard Zaddy before. I thought that meant something else, but go ahead.
Well, that's how I've seen it used. But they actually don't really care about integrating or learning about white men or learning about the white culture. They just want attention. They just want to, they think that by doing this, they can make Black men mad. They think by showcasing, which they call racial showcasing, right? Or they can essentially, which is objectifying these white men, using them as trophies. They think by doing that Black men are going to get bad. So I've seen again a mixture. I don't think there's one like reason, like I said, but just again, I think there is a group of women who are getting sucked into this, and it's for various reasons. Some of it's money. There is money to be made off of this because it's being funded. Some of it is women who legitimately, think,
funding it? Who's funding these groups?
That's a deeper conversation. Well, women are, first off, because to your point, why don't we have more femininity channels being like, hey, it's not okay for you to call essentially 50% of the Black population monkeys and bullet bag and nakers. That's not okay. Like, why don't we have more of a pushback? I don't know. That's why I've dedicated a lot of my channel.
Bullet bags and what?
Bullet bags, nakers is another one.
Nakers?
Nakers. I mean,
there's like a play on the N word.
Yeah, that's another one.
Are Black women saying this?
Oh yeah. Oh, like I said, I the amount of things that I've seen, it's like your jaw would drop. But I'm like, it literally, it's like white supremacy. It's almost as if they like took a book, like they found like, I don't know, the journal of the KKK, and they're like, okay, let me read everything this person said, and then I'm going to now spew it. Like some of it, that is how outlandish it is. But again, so it's some of it is being funded by women. Some of it, and that's a whole nother conversation. But to try to make a very long story short, I interviewed a guy he's dedicated to anti-Black misandry in the media. That's kind of one of his focuses. And he was telling me that, I don't know if you're familiar of this instance that happened a few months ago where somebody who was hired on, I want to say CNN or a major media platform, Black woman, she had posted a tweet that said Black men can't even die right, LOL. And it was in reference to this misandrous rant that a homosexual Black man had made, just completely obliterating straight Black men, saying these straight Black men are devils, they're this and that. And in that whole rant that went viral, he said, y'all Black men can't even die right. She took that quote and she tweeted, and she was like, LOL, y'all can't even die right. She got hired as like a top executive in a major media platform. And so we kind of had this conversation, and so that's a deeper conversation. But what we were finding is that there is a deep connection between feminism, right? And because what's happening is some of these women, some of our Black women, they're going to college, they're sitting, white feminist ideology. They're not hearing any of their perspective. They're taking that on and they're saying, hey, these men are oppressive, these Black men are oppressive. And then they go from college, they'll get internships at these big media companies. They'll get internships at, the CNN, the Washington Post. They'll get them there. And those are the ones who are funding some of these articles. Those are the ones that are funding some of these books, some of these different think tanks. So we're hitting it from a lot of different reasons, or a lot of different sources. So I hope that didn't confuse you, but
no, not at all. I wanted to, you talked about on your channel, you referred to, I asked the young lady, what's the end game here? Like, so all of you divester ladies, you divest and get white men. Now, I just asked her, she said, yeah, we're just going to have this big powwow, us and all the divestors and our white men and our biracial babies. And, here's the thing about that. There's going to be competition and pushback from white women. And you brought that up in your response to my video. Can you elaborate more on that? Like, it's one thing for a few of these ladies to snatch a few straggly white dudes off, but when they really start making inroads and it becomes a thing, what type of pushback do they not think they're going to get pushback from white women?
I think you make, again, a fantastic point, which at the end of the day, if the reason you're divesting is because you have had failed and bad relationships within the Black community, aka you don't know how to get along with men within your community, how do you think you're not going to be successful with a community you're not familiar with? Right. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So it's like, I make a big distinction between somebody who was dated or married interracially. I have many close friends of mine who are in interracial relationships, interracial marriages. That is a distinction from somebody who was motivated for whatever weird reason and thinks that they can go outside of their community and do better and not consider the fact that they're still going to have competition, not consider the fact that wherever they're going, they may come up against racism or anti-Blackness. That still does exist in certain areas. We can't admit that. Not even thinking about the fact that are you even familiar with that culture? Are you okay with the white woman? There's a lot of Black women out there who they want white men, but they hate white women. They do not like white women. And it's just like, that's going to be maybe your in-laws, or that's going to be your sister-in-law. Like, so.
You know what else I find odd? There are a lot of Black women who hate light-skinned women with so-called good hair and green eyes.
Absolutely.
But they love biracial babies. How is that going to work out?
It's not. That's why I'm like, you can't call it Black female empowerment if you don't even believe in reproducing yourself. Mm-hmm. It's not. That don't try to make this a pro-Black. I'm a pro-Black woman, Black girl, dark-skinned woman. Don't even try to go down that road if you are not willing to reproduce yourself. To me, that is highly hypocritical. And you better not complain about featureism, texturism, colorism, lookism, all the isms when you yourself are reproducing the very thing that you complain about every 15 seconds. Makes no sense.
And, another thing is the type of men, Andrew publicly denounced these divestors, said, I would never date a woman like that. Mm-hmm. So I can only suspect, I could hypothesize that the only type of white men that would be attracted to women who spew this sort of hateful rhetoric would be men who agree with that ideology.
Absolutely.
So now you're in a situation where you're filled with hate, and you attract someone who is also filled with hate, and now you all are in a relationship together. So your relationship is not based on love, it's based on mutual hate. You talked about that. Could you elaborate on that more for us?
I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head, that if hatred is a thing that is motivating you, and if you are trying to bait white guys based upon hate towards Black men, and you're able to attract maybe a few scraggly ones as you use it, then what is that saying about the Black men that you choose, or the white men that you choose? Again, if you are baiting them based upon your hatred towards Black men, what is that saying about the white men that you are trying to get? It doesn't say anything good. So that's why, divesting the white supremacy, that's something that I've talked about, because it's a really real thing. Women, this is the other thing we don't talk about. We don't have real honest discussions about what's actually happened historically, what is still happening today. I have seen countless upon countless divesting disasters gone wrong, even in the last year. Now, of course, we can all point to a situation of abuse or something within an intraracial relationship, or a same-race relationship. That absolutely happens. But we also can't act like it's just you're going to be skipping in tulips and daisies just because you date and marry out. There have been so many instances of a Black woman saying, oh, these Black men are monkeys, I'm gonna go get me a bride, and then she ends up missing, or she ends up deceased, and then you come to find out it's like literally like, oh, she just found in a bloody bed, and then her person walks off and is not in the jail, just free. You don't know what happens. Like, that's happened so many times. And again, and it's like, I'm saying, what we're not talking about is that if you are actually in a relationship with somebody who does not like Black people, or who legitimately does not value them or see them as equals, they may have sex with you, especially men. A lot of men will have sex with anything. They may have sex with you, but don't think that once, pressure turns up, you have a disagreement, don't expect them to treat you respectfully, especially if they know the system very well and they know in certain areas or in certain times they can get away with it. Don't be surprised. And again, that's why for me, I think it's incredibly dangerous when we talk about these things and we're not honest about the implications, and we're not honest about what could happen. It's very dangerous.
Now, here's the thing. I don't have a problem with people dating who they want to date. You date whoever you love, whatever, knock yourself out. I just don't understand the difference between an interracial dating mentality versus a divester dating mentality. Can you kind of explain the difference between the mentality of a divester who dates out and a normal interracial person who's simply dating out interracially? Can you maybe elaborate that? What's the difference, if there is one?
So the way that I've seen it distinguished, because I have people, like I said, some of my best friends are in interracial relationships, interracial marriages, and I've explained to them some of the beliefs about divestors, and they're just like, that is evil. That is completely, I want nothing to do with that. And so, again, I think a lot of this goes back to the behavior and the motive. Right? It's one thing, like for example, I live in the San Francisco Bay Area where it's very diverse out here. You'll find pockets that are homogenous, but for the most part, it's like, it's pretty diverse. So I see a lot of interracial relationships. I see all kinds of relationships, all kinds of races, genders, everything, right? And some of it is just proximity. If you grow up in a multicultural environment, you grow up, you guys group in the same class together, you guys connect, your families live next door, you fall in love, so it's kind of a natural, organic thing. That is completely different than somebody literally saying like, not only do I not like myself, I'm going to actively choose to overlook, to bypass, to not engage in these kinds of people, essentially in my own community. And I'm going to only seek this out. And by the way, while I'm doing it, I'm going to spew hatred. So for me, the primary difference is really the rhetoric and the actions behind it. Divestors, from what I've seen, don't care anything about the Black community. They don't care anything about Black men or Black women. They want out. They want out. They want nothing to do with it. People in interracial relationships happen to find love, happen to find somebody that they could work with, but they don't do it by spewing hate. They may still be involved in their community. They still may believe in, Black love, if you will. They still may, promote, give money, volunteer, whatever. You know what I mean? So they're not saying, oh, I'm completely removing myself from this. I want nothing to do with this community and I hate it. They're just like, oh, I fell in love with somebody from a different community, and we both are still going to engage in our own in ways that we can. Does that make sense?
It does. I guess my question then is, clearly these ladies are dating interracially. Mm-hmm. What makes them turn to being a divester? Like, is there something that has happened to them? Did they have such a horrible experience with a Black man, or maybe their father or something? That's another issue. You mentioned also father issues. The last thing any guy wants is a woman with daddy issues. And right. So whether you had a Black daddy and you got daddy issues, or a white daddy, Hispanic daddy, whatever, men don't want women with daddy issues. So why do these women think they can just jump over the fence, the interracial fence, and date some man from another race, and it's all going to be hunky-dory? I mean, do they not realize that wherever they go, they are, as Jay-Z once said? Right. Or I tell my guys on my platform, there's no geographical solution for an emotional problem.
Right. That's a great way to put it.
What are your thoughts on that? Like, what's in their mind to make them think they can just go get a white man and it's all going to be good? Where are they? Explain that female mentality to us, because I don't.
Female mentality. So let's start with the fifis. Just start there. No, it's not based upon logic. It's Fifi's feelings. Let's start there. Female logic. I would also say that, again, I want to reiterate that these women traffic in self-hatred. They don't like themselves. The amount of women that I personally know who are not Black, white women, Hispanic women, Asian women, who have had incredibly traumatic situations, that in and of itself could be the whole life, because women across the board of all ethnic groups have issues with men in their lives. Some of them have had abuse. Some of them have been abused. So these are women that I know personally. Right at the top of my head, I can think of maybe 3-4 white women that I know personally who have shared with me in detail the kinds of abuse that they have received from their fathers from their fathers, and yet they never once said, I'm going to divest from white men and find me a Tyrone, or get me a black man, or get me a... They've never once said that. They're still married to white men, or they still date or whatever. Why? Because they don't hate themselves.
Yeah.
So I think some of these women already maybe had the ideology. They already had the sense that somewhere in there, I'm not good enough. If I was a white woman, or if I did not have skin like this, or hair like this, or look like this, life would be easier. They already had that predisposition. And then couple that with maybe the dad not being there. Couple that with you have a bad situation with a guy. Now you're left with bad child support, whatever it may be. And then you find that, oh, by the way, this kind of ideology, there's money behind it. There's backing behind it, because this divesting is not new. This is, if you want to think about it, this whole idea of essentially selling out your community for your own benefit, this has been happening for decades, if not centuries. Go back to the Daughters of the Trade. Right. We have African women who sold out their community, who sold out their men and women, collaborated with the European imperialist, married them to get rich, but they did that while literally selling out their own people. So these could be the great great granddaughters of those women. So this ideology has been going on. You have historical accounts of Black women who were sleeping with leaders of the KKK back in the 20s and the 30s, Reconstruction era. This has been going on. This is not new. I just think now, because we have social media, they have a voice for it. But this kind of behavior has always been, I think, present, at the very least, in a small percentage among the Black community, unfortunately.
You know, and I hate to say this, but and hear me out, and this is going to sound offensive to everybody listening. Oftentimes, our lovely ladies say things like, we were RAPE'd during, slavery. And sometimes I believe all of that wasn't RAPE. Sometimes I believe those women were exchanging their willing companionship for favoritism in that situation, because that's the nature of women. They're going to look for an easier bed to lay in. They're going to look for some comfort in whatever situation they're in. Women are survivors. If women weren't survivors, this race would have died out long ago.
Yeah.
So, but here's another thing, and this is from DT Crypto. We kind of touched on this earlier on. The lovely ladies of the divestment community would refer to you as a mammy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So
what do they mean by mammy? Like, and go ahead, and I know what the definition. I thought I knew what the definition was, but go ahead. What are your thoughts?
The definition changes. So what was interesting is because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I remember, the divester that you interviewed saying, she referred to mammies as women who had kids out of wedlock with Black men, right? Women who were essentially creating this whole single mother issue. That's what she called mammies. Mm-hmm. That's not me. I don't have kids out of wedlock. So based upon her definition, I'm not a mammy. I first started getting called mammy when, I'm trying to think when it was. Because there is
just so they understand, this is a married woman who's married to a Black man, and these group of divesters refer to her as a mammy. Go ahead. Just so you guys can hear. Go ahead. No children out of wedlock. Did everything the right way.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, no children out of wedlock. So I'm trying to think of when the first time I saw it, because like I said, the first few months I got in YouTube, I was doing a deep dive, just trying to get a sense of what was happening in the YouTube space, what women were listening to. No, I think this is what it was. I think the first time I got it in like intense form is when I did a content review of Cynthia G. I did watched like 5 or 10 hours of her content, and I did like a review of her content, and I broke down some of her different talking points, and I was just like, here's what I'm noticing, here's what makes sense, here's what doesn't make sense, just try to provide my data or my analysis as to why. And then that's, I think, where I started to see the majority of the mammy content or comments come from, when I reviewed what she had to say about the Black community and Black men. So I think that's where it started. Previous to that, I did like a few photos and just shared. I share positive things about Black men on my channel, because as a femininity channel, I think it's important for us to celebrate men, because I don't see that. I see a gender war. Yeah. And that's where it started, when I started saying positive things. But I think it went to another level when I did that.
So these ladies don't even want you saying anything positive about Black men.
Oh, not at all.
So
not at all. Like the Black Men Don't Build. Like I started a series called Black Men Built That. It focuses on the different things Black men have done that actually have that have empowered the community, have empowered modern technology, the different inventions, the different medical contributions, things like that. Because a lot of those things aren't talked about. And that did not get support from women, which was weird because I'm just like, why would that not? If you have sons, if you have young children, like that would be like a motivation. Like, oh wow, a Black man is responsible for the digital cell phone. Wow, maybe I can do science. Maybe I can do engineering. Like I would think that would be something positive, but did not get, at least from some of the women, it was not what they wanted.
Where did this come from? I mean, like, where did this, like? Because I mean, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and we were still doing poetry slams, and we were even I remember, I think it was 2007 or 8. There was an issue in Louisiana. You had all Black folks come down in Louisiana to protest against, I forget something. There was a young man who had got kicked out of school. So that was like 2007, 2008. We got the Black president that got voted in 2000. What happened? Like, what went wrong where now you got Black women who are calling for the death of Black men in the name of divestment? What happened? That's what I'm asking you guys.
That's a good question.
Where Jenna 6, that's what it's called. Y'all hit the #1 button and make sure you check in and subscribe and contribute to the campaign too here through Cash App and everything. But what happened? Based on your observations?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Let me lay this out too.
Yeah.
We are richer than we ever were. We have more education than we've ever had as Black people. We have more entrepreneurs, more business, more spending power. I think we're $1.2 trillion in spending. And I'm talking about Black Americans. We have all of this. Home ownership. We just had a Black president. We got more Black mayors, Black women mayors. It seems like we're doing great. I think our ancestors would say, y'all are doing great compared to what we were doing, So what happened to cause all this strife and animosity for a group, this divergent group known as the Divesters, to pop up? What happened based on your observations and what you've heard in your investigations into the divestor community? What triggered this?
Well, to me, again, I think this what is like, if we assume that this is something new, that this is kind of something out of nowhere, then I think there's an element of surprise. But I guess from my understanding of what I've seen is that this mindset has been around for some time now. We're just seeing now a more radicalized, newer reiteration of it. But like I said, again, if we go back to you had made the observation a few minutes ago, which could be maybe disturbing or sound offensive, but is true to a certain extent. Where yes, there are absolutely scenarios where women were taken advantage of. Obviously, they weren't considered human. We were considered like 1/3 of a person or something like that. So that obviously happened in that time. And yes, by the way, there are also women in that time Black women in that time who collaborated and very much were happy to work with the person who enslaved them, and those women had children. Those women had grandchildren. Those women taught those people. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't think this just popped up out of nowhere. Again, you think of the Oprah Winfrey. I hear it all the time talking about Oprah Winfrey and how these weren't maybe some of them say they're Black energy. It wasn't so aggressive, but it was subtle. It was subtle. All throughout time, all throughout American history, there has been misandry. There has been Black male misandry, whether it's been aggressive, whether it's been subtle. It's always been there. Just now we're at a time, like I said, with the advent of social media and everyone taking their free speech to another level. I just think we're having an opportunity to see it more frequently. Okay. But I think it's always been there. And they say what the hit dog hollers the loudest, right? So I do think it's a smaller percentage of women who are really making a big fuss. I don't think all women believe this, obviously.
You guys make sure you contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. I got a couple more questions, and we're going to get a little deeper into this. But you guys, if you appreciate this kind of content, hit the #1 button. They tell me I'm like professorial. I don't crack enough jokes. My bad. That funny. I mean, I'm talking about serious stuff. You want me to talk about what the Kardashians are doing? I can do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think this is more, you need to know who your adversaries are. Because the next time you go to HR and you need to understand whether or not this woman has been listening to these divesters online.
Absolutely.
You see what I mean? I mean, this is real. This is not something. Anytime people start popping up on my timeline with Confederate flag mask on their face, talking about, some of this dangerous rhetoric, I take it seriously because I have sons. I have Black sons that I love, and these are going to be their professors. These are going to be their teachers. These are going to be the women that are operating the bus that they're on, the Ubers that they're in.
Yeah.
And so if you appreciate this type of content, show your appreciation by continuing to contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. Now, you did hit on this, and I want you to go a little bit deeper. These blending, let's say these divestors end up hanging out, with these white folks. Mm-hmm. Do they not realize that Black culture, white culture, Asian culture, Hispanic culture is different than Black culture? Like, you're not just, these women work differently together. They have customs and traditions that they follow. It's going to be very difficult for these ladies. Can you elaborate on that based on your observation? Are they unaware of that?
This goes back to some of the delusion, because I do think some of these women are legitimately deluded. I mean, what we haven't really talked about so far is like mental health and how there are a lot of women right now who are mentally just unwell. And I don't mean that as like to joke or to try to undermine, but that just consider that there legitimately are women out there who are mentally ill. That, there's financial pressures that are happening. People are talking about. I believe that many of these divestors, again, I don't have numbers on this per se, but I just believe that many of them are single mothers, which we all know single mothers tend to be hit the most financially. They're impacted the most. So I think a lot of them are, under stress. They have all kinds of trauma. They have all kinds of stuff. So that's the backdrop. I want to kind of want to remind that, like, that's the backdrop. I think some of these women, they're not mentally well. So with that said, no, also a lot of these women haven't actually, I don't think they have relationships with the other communities, because how in one instance can you complain about the Beckys and complain about the exoticals and the preferences that one you're trying to create, but how can you complain about them and always shame them when you actually want to marry into that community? It doesn't make sense. And this shows me a couple of things. Again, that this is why I think some of them just want attention. They actually don't want results. They want attention. They maybe want to make Black men feel bad. And like I said, they're living in a state of delusion, because if this actually was about getting Black women more husbands, if these Black women really wanted more white husbands or more Asian husbands or more, whatever it may be, if they really wanted that, then they would actually be constructive in having programs talking about, okay, let's learn about the culture. What are habits? How do we our behavior? What does our behavior have to look like? What do you do when you meet the in-laws? What do you do when you go to the company party? What are your expectations as far as weight? Like, these are the kinds of conversations that will be had.
How are you going to interact with these people and you don't understand their customs? You can't cook their food.
That's what I'm saying.
You don't know their language. You don't know. Even white folks and Black folks, we speak the same language, but we have different ways in which we socialize. Yeah. What do they think's going to happen? And here's another one. What happens when you get angry? And that facade that, oh my God, all that fades.
The fake Valley Girl voice drops.
When the Valley Girl and Shaquisha pops out.
Right.
And, oh my God. Oh, I didn't even know. Oh my God. What happens then? Literally. Like, did they not see that?
That's why I'm saying there is a good portion of these women who just want attention. Because if they really wanted results, they wouldn't focus any more energy on the Black men they say they don't like, and they would focus all their energy on how to secure a white man. They'd be in the gym, right? You know, getting themselves together. They be integrating in the community, maybe volunteering, maybe going to, I don't know, all white churches or going to the golf club, working there. Like they would be doing what they could to try to learn and study the culture and get integrated versus spending their time online going on black male platforms.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. Based upon the actions, we're seeing that this is clearly not about results. Maybe it's about emotional coddling. Maybe it's about funding a fantasy, about spewing hatred, but it's certainly not about getting Black women results, not getting the results they say they actually want.
All right. So do you think this is just rebellion dating? And let me give you an example.
Rebellion dating.
And I hope it's something less than what it sounds like to me, because this is going to get really serious in a minute. And when I say rebellion dating, I know a lot of white girls, they date Black dudes. Okay. They I'm sorry, I apologize for that. I got a little.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
They date Black women. They date Black men because they're rebelling against their fathers.
That's true.
They're rebelling against their authority. Is that what these lovely ladies in the divestment community are doing? What are your thoughts on that?
To a point, yeah. To a point, I think some of them are trying to make a statement, because I think for some reason there's this weird need to compete. There's this weird need, I think, for
who are they competing?
I don't think men. This is just my opinion. I generally don't think men feel the need to compete with women when it comes to the sexual dating marketplace, because they just know inherently that they just kind of have it easier when it comes to certain things. As far as, you know, if we want to look at time, they have a much longer span. Like that's a whole other conversation. Yeah. But I think based upon the constant obsession with the small percentage of Black celebrities or Black male celebrities who date or marry out, the constant obsession about that, the constant just, you know, complaining about it every single 15 seconds. And then at the same time, you see a Black woman do it and she dates and marries out and it's a celebration. It's a celebration. Like, to me, it feels somewhat of a competition, like tit for tat. And I can't say I really know why. I mean, some of this could be fueled by the fact that we live in a feminist culture, for better or for worse. You know, we certainly live in a feminist leaning culture, right? And so that could be a thing that's fueling it. But this whole need to compete and this whole need to sometimes even act like Black women are their own subcategory of the Black community. Like they're not even part of the Black community. They're another race almost, which is how some of them treat it. I think that has something to do with it. I can't say I really understand why, but I think that has something to do with it. And at the core, I think it is because of rebellion. And at the core, I do think it's because they're hoping that they can get somebody back. I don't know.
And here's the thing. Yeah. Here's the thing. And this is gonna. Is there something pathological about Black women in America, or the Black women? You brought up the daughters of the trade, because Asian women date out more than Black women.
Yeah,
they date out more than anybody else, but you don't see them talking about death to Asian, abort Asian male. No. You don't see that. You don't see, and Latino women date out more than Black women. Mm-hmm. Everybody dates out more than Black women. But Black women are the only ones calling for the death of their fathers and their sons and their brothers and their nephews. I don't understand that. Like, is there something? What is it about us as a people that makes us hate ourselves so much? Starting with our women. I mean,
I think that's a deeper, man. I think that's like a very much deeper. That itself could be a whole.
The Hebrew Israelites, they got their own religious reason for it. They said we've turned away from God or something like that. Is there something psychological? I mean, what is it about us? We sold ourselves into slavery for horses and tobacco and guns. We had our own people, Black women, as you brought up, the daughters of the trade. They married into these Dutch families and these English families, and they basically were these African wives of these men who captured us. Our own men went into the interior of Africa, captured us. What is it about us that makes us sell out so easy?
Well, I want to challenge that narrative just a little bit. You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right about the fact that yes, there is collaborators. There have always been collaborators. You can find if you look at every single war, you're going to find collaborators. So I want to be clear about that. That yes, there were Black men and women at the time who collaborated to sell people out. That was a very small percentage. There were plenty of countries who fighting back. Even today, what's oftentimes not talked about is the amount of wars that were waged by enslaved Black men, enslaved Black people who worked together, who fought, who had revolts, countless revolts, time and time again to get us free today. People didn't just one day wake up and say, hey, yeah, I guess we want to completely change our economy, right? And free people who are essentially funding it. They didn't just wake up one day and do that. There was blood, there was consistent bloodshed that was shed to get to that point. Black men risking their lives, Black men saving money and buying their women out of slavery. So I don't want to just make it seem like all these Black people, all our ancestors were selling us out. No, that was a small percentage. It was a majority of them who were actively fighting.
I get it. It's that small percentage that has done so much damage.
It's done so much damage.
I mean,
yeah, and I think
look at the story of the Yellow Rose of Texas, light-skinned African American woman who infiltrated the German. I'm not German. The general, the Mexican army got close to the general and betrayed him, and that's how the Texans end up taking over that part of Mexico, and they were just up there to get rid of the slave trade that was in North Texas, what was then northern Mexico. So it's like it doesn't take that many to sell us out. But when I look at the Vietnamese, when I look at in the war that they fought against the Russians, the Americans, the French, they stuck together. When I look at the Afghanis, they stuck together. When I look at all these other people, even the Native Americans, they fought to the last one, and they really. They had something for the traders amongst them. And so it's like, it seems to me like it's so easy to get Black people to sell out. Why is that? I mean, and not just sell out for a few dollars. You will literally sell your people into slavery. You will literally say, abort Black babies. I love seeing white men kill these Black men, bullet bags. They literally are saying things like that. Like, that's outrageous to me. Don't you think that's outrageous?
No, it's absolutely outrageous. And, I think there's a lot of different things that go into this. I'm sure you're familiar with the Moynihan report, right? And, whether you agree or disagree with it, he makes some really interesting observations in there. One of the things that really stood out to me was essentially the whole premise of, unless there is an active reconstructive process that is done on all levels, psychologically, essentially, like on all levels, you're going to continue to see some of these behaviors continue, where you're going to see some of these essentially suicidal, because at the point, some of us we are at the point of now, like, we don't even need racism to be active. We ourselves are hurting ourselves. You know what I mean?
I'm going to ask you a tough question, and I want you to tell me, and if it's too deep for you, maybe you don't want to answer. Are divesters our enemies?
Our enemies, as far as the enemies of the Black community?
They clearly want us dead, and I'm talking about Black men. They want
Black men. Are they your enemies?
Are these Black female divesters? Are they our enemies? And should we treat them accordingly? That's going to be my next question.
That's a good question.
How many of you all in the chat room think that these Black female divesters and this rhetoric that they're spewing are coming across as our enemies? I see a bunch of yeses in the chat.
I see a bunch of yeses. I see that in there. Yeah. So, since I'm not a Black man, it's like, I don't know that it's my place to say, I
get it. You are a Black woman, and it's a conflict of interest.
But I would say as a Black woman, they are enemy to themselves. So based upon that, yes, because they're enemy to themselves. It's like you don't even believe in reproducing yourself.
I want to bring something up real quick. And I understand that puts you in a precarious position of having to answer that question. This is the Southern Poverty Law Center's website. And this is what they define as a hate group. The Southern Poverty Law Center defines a hate group as an organization or collection of individuals, right? That definition definitely falls into the divestors that are online, based on its official statements or principles, the statements of its leaders or its activities, has beliefs or practices that attack or malign an entire class of people, typically for their immutable characteristics. Your immutable characteristics are the things that you're born with, or they could be your religion. They could be your color. This is what that means. An organization does not need to have engaged in criminal conduct or have followed their speech with actual unlawful action to be labeled a hate group. As of this time, I've not heard of the Divesters doing any drive-by shootings at any black male rallies or anything like that, but they are still, nevertheless, based on their actions, based on what their leadership has stated, their activities, this is a hate group.
Absolutely.
This is a hate group. And for those of you all who are spewing this dangerous rhetoric because you're trying to get attention, you are going to have a bad outcome.
Yeah.
I'm not talking to you as some YouTube person. I'm talking to you as an attorney who's practiced law for 22 years, who is very good friends with lots of judges and lots of prosecutors. And when we look at this and we look at you, all jokes aside, this dangerous rhetoric puts you in the category of a hate group. Yeah. What does that mean? Let this continue for the next 5 years. And what eventually is going to happen is you're going to come on the radar of the FBI. You're making money. And the young lady has pointed out the fact so the IRS is going to target you. And this rhetoric is going nowhere. You can delete all your videos. It's still there. You are now in line with the hate groups. You're wearing Confederate flags. You're professing or asking for the death of black males. You are a hate group.
So crazy.
You are a hate group. And what's going to happen is and I know this beautiful sister here won't say it, but I'm going to tell you, you're my enemy. Because if you are calling for the death of me, if you are saying you applaud when police officers beat and kill and destroy innocent black men's lives, if you are referring to black men as bullet bags, you are my enemy.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And that's a fair point. Yeah, based upon that, yeah.
I'm going to do everything that I can politically, everything that I can socially, and everything that I can financially to make sure that you know that you're my enemy. Now, some of you guys don't like enemy, adversary, okay? But
adversary, yeah, I would.
Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead.
Say, I'm naturally not a very combative person.
Well, I am very combative. I enjoy it.
Do you?
Right?
Yeah.
I live for it. Go ahead. So go ahead.
Yeah. So, but I would say, based upon that, yeah, absolutely. Politically, for sure, they're the enemies. Like I said, they're the enemy of themselves. They don't believe in themselves, and so they're not healthy people. They're not. Now, for me, I would say I don't hate. It's like I don't have hatred for anyone. I don't even hate divestors. Like my hope is that some of them could wake up out of their delusion and wake up out of their own devilishness, for lack of a better term, and actually start to do better. Because like I said, no one who is trafficking in that much hatred and that much bitterness is going to do well in the end. You can't live with that much pent up inside of you and think things are going to go well with you. So I don't hate them personally, but your point as far as politically, do I want them to be the teachers? Do I want them to be the nurses?
There are teachers listening to this right now. There are teachers and engineers and bus drivers and politicians and mayors and nightclub owners and strippers for you guys who they're listening to that. They're giving you a lap dance and they're thinking about these things because everybody is listening to the internet. YouTube is more popular than Netflix. So everyone's listening. So this is not just some back corner thing that you can get away with like 6 or 7 years ago. Anytime you got people like me who are lawyers, You got doctors at you know, like Dr. Tierson Johnson, Dr. Ron O'Neill, the G with the PhD, Green Gorilla, politicians. Everybody's looking. Athletes. Everybody's looking at you. And you're not going to be able to get away with this rhetoric anymore. You better tone it down. I talk to black dudes all the time about this blackity black talk that they're doing. This blackity black is going to get you on the no-fly list. It's going to get you in a conspiracy charge, and you're going to get pulled over, and you're not going to understand why. You're going to end up in a holding cell somewhere in Leavenworth and not understand. This is serious business. And sister, I appreciate you saying, well, you know, they're emotional and, you know, they've been rejected. I get that, but at a certain point, they cross the line. And I definitely
agree.
Your compassion, I expect it, and I appreciate it. These are your sisters. These are black women. You empathize with them. You understand their struggle. I don't. I would put them under the penitentiary. There was somebody whose boyfriend committed suicide because she coached him to do that on the phone.
Oh, I saw that. Well,
the next step forward is if somebody is spewing this rhetoric and somebody ends up doing something that causes somebody's death, they're responsible for that, if not civilly, then criminally.
Oh, absolutely.
Go ahead.
No, and I want to be clear, because this is just me in general. Just because I can have empathy or compassion on somebody's struggle doesn't mean that I think that they're above the law. If a divester does a crime to a God forbid a black boy or a black girl or a black man or anybody or a person, then they deserve to be prosecuted. Just because you're you're a black woman, I'm a black woman, doesn't mean that I'm just gonna turn my, look away if you do something wrong. If a person does something wrong, they need to be held accountable, period. But I'm just saying in general, like I understand, because I say this for, now it's not nearly as popular, but I've had conversations where it's like, okay, let's look at divesters and let's look at SYSBM. I've had divesters come on my channel and say, "Oh, these SYSBM, they're the ones that started it. They're the ones that started saying all this hatred." So I went and I sat down. I was like, "Okay, well, let's try to look this out."
Is SYSBM saying abort black baby girls?
No, that's what I'm saying. So no, I was like, "No."
Are they saying they're happy when they see the police shoot up black women? Are they saying that?
No,
well, that's the difference. Just because somebody's complaining that you're not feminine and all that, that's not hate. That's complaints.
Yeah, and that's
and bringing harm to people, and because of their immutable characteristics, that is a hate group. This is, to me, is a hate group. Somebody should be sending emails to the Southern Poverty Law Center and tagging them on some of these videos that you say you saw in these comments. That's enough. Because if it was the Jewish community, it would clearly already be beyond that point. And so this is my thing. This dangerous rhetoric needs to stop. This came to me 2 weeks ago. This young lady with this Confederate flag, she came to my program. You thought it was interesting. I'm glad you put it out there. But I don't see this the way a normal person would see it. I see it from the perspective of law enforcement. And
that's it. And what's interesting you say that, because the pink pill, she now, I mean, believe it or not, but I know she did this thing a few months ago I covered off where, because she's kind of responsible for this whole thing. When she started it wasn't nearly as crazy as it is now, but it got to the point where she had that.
When you say pink pill, you're referring
to Crystalline Karazin.
That was the young lady. The young lady mentioned that name.
Right.
And I recently was contacted by somebody who said they were Crystalline Karazin.
So she started it. But basically she had to divest from the movement because she's just like, I can't control this. This is a hate group. I mean, this is a hate group.
Yeah.
So to your point, and I think you bring
let me say this. What's her name again? What's her name? Crystalline Karazin?
Crystalline Karazin, yeah.
You're welcome to come and explain what you intended to start with your divestment group. You're welcome to come on this platform. And I'm fair. I listen to people. But here's the thing you got to understand. Just like Frankenstein's monster, you might have started off with good intentions, but you're responsible for this animal, for this monster that you've created. Just like the Tea Party, the Republicans, independent, they're responsible for that. You might have started off one way, but once you start talking to the crazies and they start doing crazy stuff, that's on you. If Crystal and Karazine, because it is a Crystal and a Cynthia,
Crystal and Karazine, the pink, yeah. And she essentially,
I don't know all these people like that, but I don't know them like that. But go ahead.
She divested from Divesters because it got too out of hand. And I think you make a really great point of, at the end of the day, how it's really not as, how do you put it? It's not anything that's like, it's a big deal. It shouldn't be taken lightly. And what actually needs to be done to make sure that this kind of propaganda does not continue to be spewed, because some of them, I made it clear that they actually do want to, they want to get young girls. And that's, for me, I was just like, I don't write.
Please explain what
they literally said they want to get the young girls. They want young girls.
They want to indoctrinate young girls into this rhetoric?
Yeah. And I don't think, for me, that's why I'm like, I take a problem with that. If you want to date or marry interracially, fine. I take personal issue with you saying that you want to get the young generation who they don't even date. There's no reason for you to be at 15 or 16 over here talking about, oh, I'm going to get me a white zaddy because these black men are trying. How would you know at 16? And so I think, for me, that's something that I take personal issue with. And that's where I'm like, I do think there needs to be, I don't know what it would take. I'm open to suggestions as far as making sure, like, hey, no, this is not okay. We can't be spewing things that a white supremacist would say. We can't be promoting that in black, because that's really what it is. It's white supremacy in blackface. And I love that you put it that way, because I never really thought about, like, no, you have doctors, you have engineers, like, this is getting around to people of influence. And God forbid you're a pregnant black woman that goes into a hospital, and I don't know, the midwife or whatever is a black woman, and you're thinking you're safe. You birth a black boy, and like, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. You birth a black boy, and God forbid that young newborn gets in the hands of a divester who does not believe in the value of young black boys. And that is not something that should be taken seriously. Or no, so that's not something that should be overlooked. That is a serious problem. So I'm open. I mean, because I think you do make a really good point, where it's just like, this shouldn't just be looked at as, okay, well, they're just the crazies over there. If it's starting to get to that level, it's starting to get to those levels.
And let me tell you why. And you're a young, beautiful woman. I'm old, and I'm old enough to remember the 1980s in South Central Los Angeles, when Crippin' and Bloody was just a thing that happened between a few small corners in South LA, and it wasn't really a problem. But now, as you see, not only is it worldwide, but it's infected our culture. The gang mentality has infected our culture because we allowed it to spread. What you see as a game and something people will grow out of, and they're just blowing off steam, in this generation could actually be something that infects, and I use that term, infect, like a virus in the next generation. And so we are already dysfunctional enough in the Black community. The last thing we need is for this self-hate to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Given shots of adrenaline. See, so this can spread. And if it happens here in the United States, it's going to happen in the Caribbean. It's going to happen in Africa. It's going to happen in all these different places. This will spread, just like the weave hair and the rap music, it will spread amongst Black folks. So I'm very wary of this. This is not something that I'm laughing about. This is not funny to me, and as a person who is involved in the law, and I know how the law acts, some of these people need to be prosecuted. Some of these people, they need to be arrested for this rhetoric.
Yeah.
If nothing else, they need to be banned from YouTube. If you're talking about killing Black children, killing any children, is this what you're talking about? Are you serious? Not acceptable. Go ahead.
I don't know why those channels are still up, to be honest. I don't understand. And I don't support, I will never support that. I will never support. I think that's evil. I think that's evil. And I mean, and based upon that, it's like, well, it's clear. It's like, yeah, this is a hate group.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that is the enemy of the Black community, period. I mean, if you really break it down on how it actually is going to impact, how it can impact and hurt young kids, women, Black men, Black boys, it really is something serious.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, sister, you're gonna be a mom. You got a Black husband. You live in San Francisco. You're gonna have Black sons. If not, you're gonna have Black grandsons.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to pop up 20 or 30 years from now saying, damn, I wish I had done something about it.
Oh, no.
You see what I'm saying?
No, absolutely. I think about that all the time. I think about, like, if I have Black sons, what is the kind of BS that these young girls are hearing?
Yeah.
And so, like I said, that's one of the reasons I kind of started covering it. And still, like I said, I'm a year in, so I don't pretend to be the expert, and I don't pretend to have all the answers. I'm learning, growing, and figuring out what's going to be the best way to do it. But it's like, if I say that I'm a Black femininity channel or a femininity channel, then we should actually know what it means to value men. We should know what it means to value families, people in general, and spewing hatred and promoting essentially the genocide of yourself that's not how to do it. That's like the worst way to do it. And by the way, it's like, I want my sons, right, or grandsons to have good.
Your son-in-laws. Your son-in-laws were married to your daughters. You don't want them to constantly be under threat. How painful would it be for your daughter to lose her husband because some paramedic who happens to be a Black woman just let him die because they took her at 10 years old and imbued her with that rhetoric. This is a dangerous, very dangerous, toxic philosophy that's spreading. It's not just about, and let me say that I don't think you and I have a problem with people dating whoever they want to date.
No.
Date whoever you want to date. God bless you. But when you start advocating the death of other people, innocent people, you're become a problem at that point. Now you're a problem. But go ahead.
I think you are right. And then I guess I have a question for you, if you don't mind. What would you say, I guess, as a lawyer, somebody who actively works in the law, what would you say would be the actions that would need to be taken if we were to try to nip this in the bud as much as possible? Is it, I know you can go and try to flag channels. I know, like I said, Divested channel, her channel has been flagged. I don't know why it hasn't been taken down, but just with that picture of the man being, I don't know why that's like, hey, this is not a big deal. But like, what would you say are the actions? Like, let's say for me, I'm like, hey, I want to make it clear that I don't stand for this, and this is toxic, and we want to stop it. What are the actions that I will need to take, women will need to take, whether it's from a law standpoint or collaborating with their men to make sure that it's very clear that we do not support this. We are not behind this hatred. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, the first thing you do is denounce it. What I realized about a month or two ago, maybe 2 months ago, is that you have a lot of people on this YouTube space. They're criminals, they're ex-convicts, they're drug dealers, they're drug users, and I refer to them as predator pookies. Okay. And what you saw me do is drop predator pookies. That's what I call them. They're predators in the Black community. They're molesters. They're rapists. They're people. They're pimps. They're people who take advantage of Black people in the Black community. Now I understand you're young. You did some time. You got your life together. You became a plumber, electrician, whatever the hell you did.
Yeah.
You redeem yourself. I'm talking about these people who are predators in the Black community. What you saw me do was I drove a blue line, a clear line, okay, a dividing line between myself and those people.
Okay.
Denouncing them and their behavior.
Okay.
All Black women who are on YouTube, who are not affiliated or don't want to be caught up in that divester rhetoric, you need to publicly denounce them. My her name is Crystalline Carazine. If she is against what this divester movement has become, she needs to publicly denounce their activities. I do not support that. This is not what I wanted to do. This is not where I wanted this to go. This was, let her find whatever it is it was supposed to be, but let them understand this is not it, or they're going to get caught up in this tidal wave. And she is going to be someone, her and whoever started this, they're going to be the ones that the feds come looking for. They're going to be that online community. And let me tell you something else. You might not go to jail, but you might get put on a no-fly list. You see, you might not go to jail, but you might lose your job. You might get investigated. These are the things that will happen to you. Your life will become hard. So if you have anything to lose, if you want to go to college, if you want a school loan, if you want a mortgage loan, if you want these sort of things, you probably want to begin to separate yourself from this particular group of people, because this is dangerous rhetoric. It's dangerous, it's deadly, and there's not going to be a good outcome to it. I can tell you that now. And these women, these ladies think, oh, we're just blowing off steam. We're just this is not to be played with. When you start talking about people's death, when you start advocating death for people, that and death of children, babies, when you start talking about aborting black male babies and calling black men boy cats, you're talking about some senator's son. You're talking about some district court judge's son. You're talking, and that's men and women. This is who you're talking about. You're talking about my children, my sons, who've done nothing to you. And just because they're black, they're a mutant character, you cast them in that category, they don't even have girlfriends. They've never done anything to you. Who's telling you to call for their death? That's where I'm coming from. F you is what I'm saying. So, and hell, I'm black. And I don't want to get caught up in that. I've done nothing to anybody. So this is how serious this is. This is a matter, when I look at it, it's a matter of my own survival. So that's why I asked earlier, are they my enemies? Because they want to take my life. You're my enemy.
You say, yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, no, absolutely. They're enemy of black men and of the black community. I mean, there's really no way around it. And I'm glad, I really appreciate you sharing your perspective, because that puts it in a light that I never even really considered about how this actually plays out and day to day. Like I said, I've seen some of the relationships that have just gone bad that I've covered off, but I love how you really talked about how the way that it can start to impact all aspects of society. And I'm like, at that point, it is the literal enemy of the black community, black men, black women, and it must be, at the very least, it must be made clear that it's like, we do not condone this hate, period. Right. Divesters don't like me at all. I have plenty of content on my channel that they do not, they don't like, but that's so like making that clear distinction. Like I said on my channel, I've already done that, where it's like, divestors don't like me. Black women, I think black women in general, I have, like, in personal, I have friends, but my channel is not really well liked because I don't really do the whole black woman, God, queen stuff. We have a lot of stuff that we need to deal with.
You're a nice lady. You're a married woman. You keep doing what you're doing. I applaud what you're doing. And what I'm gonna suggest to you is get out of the way and let us deal with these people. Okay. Like, you don't need to involve yourself in this. I'm an asshole. I'm a professional asshole.
Okay. A fair point.
Doing what I do. And with these folks, it's just a matter of filing a lawsuit, which costs $402 in federal court, and suing YouTube and naming all of these people, that these fictitious names, whatever they are, and putting YouTube on notice that they are responsible for this rhetoric and putting them in a conspiracy charge. What that's going to do is make YouTube's legal department say, "Oh, SHIT, we got a liability issue here."
That would
it's $402. Okay, and that's if anything happens. You get in a situation where some woman who says I'm a divester, she does something to somebody, they become liable. They become liable. Now there's a liability, and you start hitting these people in the pocket, they'll start making changes. But in the meantime, I predict that in the next 5 years, somebody's going to prison.
I think that's
prison.
That's great. I may actually cover this off, and that's a
Yeah.
that is a great point. Like how, and
So,
you coming from a legal background.
Go ahead. Shout out to MS Delta guy. But go ahead, sister.
Hey, Miss Delta guy. No, I think you make a great point. Because I think partially the reason people are this has gone around so long is because there hasn't been any repercussions. Mm-hmm. There hasn't been any repercussions for the channels with the black men with the news. The channel's still up. There hasn't been any repercussion for the abort black on babies. But to your point, if there starts to be legal repercussions, then they're not going to feel so free to do that. And like I said, I think that is why the Pink Poe Crystalline Karazin walked away, because she's connected to different people in politics. She's connected with a few higher ups, if you will. And she was like, I can't.
Yeah,
there's no way I can be connected to this. And so that's why she had to publicly denounce it.
Yeah, I could never do any business with somebody like that. You know, I mean, if you are affiliated with this hate group, this so-called divester, but this is a hate group, you're affiliated with that in any way, I can never touch you. When you run for office or when you're affiliated, they run a complete background check on you. Every word you say on your videos is transcribed. Everything is printed up. Anything you say is going to pop up there. You might as well have just crapped on your future, you know. And I don't think people realize, like, that's why when that young lady was here with the Confederate flag on, it's like, I know who you are. As soon as you got off my channel, somebody sent me your YouTube page, and I know who you are. And if I know who you are, there are other people who know who you are. You just crapped all over your future, you know, because it. And see, here's the thing, and I'm gonna go into, these ladies are upset because black men are able to date out.
Basically.
You're upset because so what you want to do is say, well, I didn't want you anyway. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go date Brad, and you call them these white guys. Matter of fact, I don't even like you. Matter of fact, you're horrible. So they're taking it too damn far. And at some point, when you're taking it too far, you've gone too far, you know, you can't come back now. You are not allowed back over here with the civilized people, with the regular people who see that dangerous rhetoric. And the young lady that you mentioned earlier, that and this is the crazy part. You mentioned this woman's name, Miss Caroline,
the Pink Poe Crystalline Karazin, yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned her. I got an email, I believe it's somebody, because you know, you never know who's emailing you, right? But somebody alleging that they were her emailed me. Mm-hmm. And that other young lady mentioned her as the source. You see what I'm saying? So you see how, as an attorney, well, where'd you get this? Well, I used to listen to Crystalline Karazin when I was, in college back in, 2022. And they're and they're going to be looking for her. Well, you're the progenitor of this hate group. What do you have to say for yourself? That's how that works. You can't escape this. You're the progenitor of this hate group. Anybody who's affiliated with this, wherever this goes, you're the root problem of this. That's what I don't think they get.
They don't understand. You're saying from the legal standpoint, this is how you could implicate them in that crime.
Yeah. And it's not even a crime. It's like you are the source of this hate group. You will not be able to exist in this country and everybody not know your name. It only takes one clip to become infamous.
Wow, that's
Remember Sharkeisha? Remember her? And what's the little Cash Me Outside girl? It only takes some infamous.
Not the baby, but what's her name? Barbie or something.
Exactly. now what? Now you can't go anywhere. Now you can't get a job. You know, so you don't necessarily have to go to prison.
Right.
You know, and what I'm telling you, young ladies, is those of you guys who are playing with that, putting that divester rhetoric up on your video, making these so-called divester statements, referring to yourself as a savage divester, you are part of that hate group now. And I would hate to see you lovely ladies deal with it, because I don't think you're equipped to deal with that sort of societal pressure. You already got enough issues dealing with. The last thing you want is for all your black people to turn against you, the rest of America to turn against you, and the FBI and the CIA and all these other groups to put you in the category of, what do they call it? Black identity extremists.
Oh, wow.
That's what you don't want.
That's what they call it.
Black identity extremists. Look that up. We could easily slide you into that category, and your whole life is ruined. So just think about that, you know. But go ahead, sister. I'm not gonna hold you up too much longer. I want to just let you finish up, and you've been a great guest. And y'all hit the #1 button. Let us know also where they can find you. Tell them who you are, the name of your channel, and y'all go subscribe and make sure you tell Uncle D sent you. Go ahead, sister.
Yeah, well, again, thank you for having me. I did want to just add real quick to your point. A lot of the big divester channels don't ever show their face.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that, and I think some of them probably already know that if they were to show them face, that they could receive a lot of harsh criticism and maybe even legal action. So that's why they hide it. But you know, like if you're a lawyer, you have the law on your side, you probably know how to get the real person pretty easy.
Yeah, let me tell you what, that you hiding your face. You got an AdSense account. All I'm going to do is send a subpoena to your AdSense account and get your banking information.
Oh,
Have it in 10 days.
Wow.
This, because I've contemplated suing some of you YouTube folks before. I actually have a complaint drafted for some of your favorite YouTube folks. I'll show you. I used to show it, but the bottom line is you're not hiding from anybody. You're not hiding. You hiding your face. Let me look y'all in your eyeballs again, deep. Okay. You're not hiding from anyone because you're not showing your face. We know who you are. You got an AdSense account. You got a Cash App account. Payment. All I'm going to do is in California. Send them a subpoena. They're gonna give me all your information, your social security number, your date of birth, your credit card, your bank account, your address, where you live, your mama's name, everything I want in a subpoena. And then I'm going to name you in that lawsuit. I'm going to send a spoilage letter to YouTube and tell them to preserve everything that they have on you. I'm going to transcribe it like I've done. I actually have a transcription of a 4 or 5 hour video where somebody was saying some defamatory things about me when I first got here. And I contemplated suing them until I did a financial report, saw they didn't have nothing.
Oh.
This is a $402 lawsuit. And so I'm a lawyer in private practice. Can you imagine having the weight of the federal government on your ass? See, let me tell you something.
I wouldn't recommend it. I would not recommend it.
Let me tell you something. This is going to be a little profane, but the federal government getting sued or prosecuted by the federal government is like making love to a gorilla. They're not finished with you until they're finished with you. You see what I'm saying? And that wasn't me that says that. That was a mafia. That was a old Italian mafia boss who said that. Okay. So
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they don't say, he didn't say making love. Okay.
Okay.
Excuse me, citizen. Excuse that. But please let these folk know how they can get in, how they can find your page, and I'll pull it up real quick. Where's your page at, sis?
Yeah. So you can find me at Chez. I really appreciate you having me on, and I really appreciate you sharing your perspective. You helped elevate my understanding of this from being not just a group of mentally ill, hateful women, but a literal hate group that is against the Black community, Black men. And so I love how you really kind of broke that down into the ways they could infiltrate society on all levels. I love how because I never really thought about it that way. So thank you again for doing that. Like I said, you guys can find me on YouTube, Chez, or I tackle tough topics with the truth. I do have a lot of divester content on there. There you see, that's one, the dilemma of divested delusion. So there I am going, I don't say going against, but I am reviewing The False Promise of Black Love by Mahogany Pink and why I believe it's just total propaganda. So you'll see there's plenty of divester content there for you guys to, if you want to learn more about it and learn more about my take. I actually think that a lot of divesters may actually be in femcells too. Total side note. Don't have numbers on that.
What is a femcell?
Oh, femcell? Oh, that's a whole nother conversation. Femcells are female involuntary celibates.
Okay, female
involuntary celibates. So women who basically at the end of the day, yeah, they are celibate, but not by choice.
They're not getting any. They can't find nobody.
Yes. And so I wonder how many of these women are
real. They must be real ugly then, because boy.
Well, actually, when I did a deep dive on that, and actually a lot of the women who are identify as femcells say that they are not conventionally attractive. Those are the words that they use, quote unquote. So basically, yeah. But I wonder how many of them are, because let's just be honest. Women know today that looks is social currency. Whether or not you agree or disagree, they know that that is the way that they are rated. So a woman who feels comfortable in her skin or confident in her skin is not going to get on YouTube and hide herself. She's not going to do that. So it's like I'm saying, you have all these big leading divester channels that won't even show their face when they know that their value as a woman, better for worse, is largely based upon the way that they present themselves physically. So if you're hiding the very thing that would make yourself valuable, or that you think would make yourself valuable, if you're hiding that, what does that say about how you think about yourself? Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't be surprised if many of these women really are just completely and totally, they've had zero luck in the relationship front. They're mad, they're upset. And instead of being reflective and saying, man, maybe I need to do some work, then you want to blame it all on Black men.
You know, the thing is, and you guys hear an echo. I hear an echo in the background.
Oh, I
don't know if it's me or you, whatever, but you know, let me tell you something. Black men have such low standards. There's absolutely no reason.
The most body positive.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason that you can't find a man. If you are truly a femcell and you can't get broke off in the Black community, that's pretty goddamn bad, because brothers will bash anything. I know. I have Q Dog friends, and I've seen them, and I see how they operate. Shout out to the brothers.
No, well, what they said about femcells is that femcells, and this is because there's a beef between femcells and incels, right? Incels, they say they complain about.
They should get together.
That's okay. That's what everybody. Because when I did the live, that's what people were like. Why don't they just date? But it was like, no. Here's the issue. Incels feel like, okay, women are feminists, right? Which a lot of women are. And then their thing is like they can't get sex. They have a hard time even getting sex. Femcells, the issue is the quality of sex, right? Because in there they're talking about, like, the reason incels don't take themselves seriously is because they're saying you guys could get sex or you could get a relationship, you're just too picky. The femcells say, well, yeah, we could, but you know, it's not a flex for any old man to just have sex with me. Like, I want it to be quality. So that's why incels and
translate that for you. They want the men that they want.
They want the men that they want.
They don't want the, and you might have to have you back because this is a whole nother conversation. A lot of these women, and big, I done made the Qs, man. Shout out to all the brothers of Omega Sci-Fi. I have much respect for you, gentlemen. Don't be mad up in my chat room because everybody know y'all hit everything. Come on, man. Stop playing old woman, young woman. Y'all hit everything. Come on,
themselves don't exist.
What y'all do? I've seen you in action. I got much love for the bros, man. But anyway, man, shout out to you guys, man. Y'all know it's just kidding, man. But no, you know, these ladies, they want what they want. They want the man that's 6'6" with the six pack. I'm sorry, they want the 6'6" man with the 8-pack. Okay. With the 8 million, with the 8-figure job, a career.
Yep.
That's what they want. They don't want the little regular dude who's an electrician or whatever. They don't want that guy. They want the one that all the other women want, but they don't have the phenotype for it. You know, and I get it. But see, here's the thing, ladies. Grown-ups understand that they can't have everything they want.
Absolutely.
Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing
and it's not called settling, especially if you are fugly yourself. Okay. So don't be mad. All right. You know what I'm saying? I can't get it, man. Look,
ugly. I'm so
your level. That's not settling. That's your level. If you're gonna swim in the 8 feet, swim in the 8 feet. But if you can only handle the 4 feet, that's it. That's where you at. Life is like that. Okay, that's it. And so, you know, part of being an adult is recognizing that you can't have everything you want. Period. And if you had if you had a daddy that was about something, he would have told you that a long time ago. Try being nice. Try smiling. That's what these ladies have to do. See this beautiful. That's why she got a husband. Look at you. Tell him you got how long you been married? You've been married. She got a husband. She's nice. She got her hair up. They got all the tattoos on her neck. That's why
I can't.
I'm just saying, you see, I get it. They angry. These femcells,
I do.
they're angry, but they taking it too goddamn far. You see what I'm saying? That's the problem. You're taking it too damn far. All that personal issues you have, keep that out the street. Get you a therapist, get a psychiatrist, get you some meds, like the white women do. Get some meds and keep it to yourself. Keep it pushing. You see what I'm saying? But when you start stepping on other people's toes, Thomas Jefferson said this: you can swing your fist as close to another man's nose as you want, but when you hit him, you've infringed on his rights in his space. You can say all you want, but when you start talking about aborting black male babies, when you start saying black men are body bags or bullet bags, you stepping on my space, and I take that personal. And see, let me tell you something about black men, ladies, and y'all. A lot of these modern day ladies, they don't really know black men. They haven't really met any black men. But we fought white folks for 110 years. They used to call it the Florida problem. Those Negro Indians, those Seminole Indians, we waged war with the American government. They had to create a buffer state, which was the state of Georgia, because black folks kept running up from Florida to South Carolina and North Carolina, raising hell.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Right. It was because of that they said we gotta free these Negroes. They were gonna free us anyway. And if you talk to any white folks who are historians, who are truly historians, this whole idea of putting us back into slavery, that'll never happen because they couldn't hold us. They couldn't hold us. So we're not that type. The last thing you want to do is make black men your enemies, because it's not going to work well for you. So all this rhetoric, cut it out. Cut it out now. You ladies, isolate these ladies. Let them know that you are not their friends. You don't empathize with them. I have nothing good to say to you. You are out of bounds. When you start talking about aborting black male babies and that black men are bullet bags and you get turned on when the police kill them, you are my enemy too. And I'm going to go with my fathers and my brothers and my sons and my uncles, because I'd rather be with this black man under his protection to be with you clowns. You go with that white man if you want to, and you see what that white woman does to you when you try to mash yourself up over there in some large groups. It's not going to work out well. But anyway, sister, I don't want to hold you up too much longer. What else would you like to say before we ease on up out of here?
This was good. Like I said, I'm gonna share this because I think you made some good points about how women, what we can do on our channel to make it very clear that we don't support this. Oh, what is this? That's femcel? Oh, white men debunked today. Yeah.
What do you call what they call it when you reviewing me and Andrew?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is you reviewing me and Andrew and I. So I'm gonna put the link for this. This is her review of that Divester video. And so I appreciate you. You've been so polite, even the way you asked me to use. People call me up and hit me up all the time and ask me to use my stuff, but I'm like, man, leave me alone. I don't, but you great, respectful. You're a respectful lady, and it's just I need my young black brothers to see you. You know, you're a married woman. You're a respectful woman. You ain't used no profanity the whole time. You know, I probably cussed a little bit. But I appreciate they need to see this means you being here and being well-spoken, articulate, intelligent, and thoughtful means a lot to them. This is how we stop this so-called gender war. You give these young black men hope. You see what I'm saying? Because right now, all they seeing is goddamn Megan Thee Stallion getting a day dedicated to her in Houston. This is who we uplifting. So we constantly uplifting the 304s among us, and the married women and the ladies don't get uplifted. That's a problem. Matter of fact, that's one of our biggest problems. And fellas, you got to change your appetite, because like I tell y'all all the time, y'all love them 304s. Y'all do. Y'all like it. Y'all enjoy it. Y'all like it. Y'all like to see them twerking on the table. Look, it's great. You complain, then you go talk to her. You feed that animal. The Native Americans have a saying: you got two wolves in you. Every man has two wolves in you, and the one you feed the most is going to become the biggest. In our community, we got two wolves. Either we're going to feed the good girls and the married women, and we're going to uplift them, or we're going to keep feeding these 304s, and all that's going to happen is a bunch of more divesters. and a bunch of more disgruntled women. That's what's going to happen, man. So just think about that. Just think about what I'm saying, you know, and I know I probably stepped on some toes today, and I'm all right with that. I don't care if you hate me. Your hate does nothing to me. I'm okay with it. But my advice to you ladies, man, if you playing with that whole divesting thing, you think it's cute, you're going to end up somewhere in somebody's prison or in somebody's police headquarters getting debriefed. Don't do it. Walk away from it. You might end up on a no-fly list, and that's going to make your life hard.
Really hard, yeah.
You're a young girl, you want a scholarship, you want a loan, you might end up losing that if you get on one of these lists. Don't do it. This is dangerous. And it's stupid and foolish for me to even have to say this. Who
right.
is
right.
dangerous? But sister, I'll let you get the last word, and we're going to roll up out of here.
Again, I appreciate you having me on. I really enjoyed this conversation. Let me know if there's other things I can do to support, I guess, the whole, whether it's the anti-divester or anti-hate group. Like I said, I'll do my part to continue to try to make it clear and point out the propaganda, do whatever. But let me know if there's more I can do to support. And yeah, check me out, guys, on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram, although on Instagram I just mostly post food because I love food. You can follow me there too, though. Mm-hmm. And yeah, this has been fun. This has been fun, enjoyable. You dropped a lot of information that I never considered. So thanks for the time, and this is fun.
Yes, God bless you, sister. I appreciate you. This is her channel. Tell us your name again so they can, because I'm
Chez Charde.
Chez Charde. That's rapping. You out here rapping. Like, that's cool, man. God bless you, sister. Y'all check out Sister Chez Charde, and tell your husband we appreciate you, allowing having you here with us, and thank you so much. And God bless you, and y'all keep going and have some beautiful children, and enjoy your life. And you're welcome back anytime if it's another topic you want to talk about, or if I say something else crazy on my YouTube channel you want to use it, just let me know. But okay. Thank you, sister, so much. God bless you.
Awesome. Thanks again.
All right.
All right. You take care.
All right. Bye. All right, you guys. This is Dennis Sperling. I hope you guys appreciate that conversation. Sister Chez Charde, brilliant young woman. Her website or her web is www.chezcharde.com. That's chezcharde.com. Check out. But my thing to you divestors, this is you on my radar now. And I'd heard the term passed around here and there, but it was all banter until the young lady came on with a Confederate flag. Bold enough to come on with a Confederate flag over her mouth. A black woman who apparently is from 3rd Ward, Houston, Texas, who has 2 black parents, who said that she knows me through somebody else. So at that point, it's getting a little too close to home. This woman is somebody from my community. This woman is somebody from your community. So we have to take it seriously. You can't overlook this anymore. We overlooked the gang problem in LA when it was just black folks dealing with it. And then it spread across the world. This is not something that I'm willing to overlook, not on my watch. All of you blackity blacks, all you so-called pro-blacks, all of y'all, you need to be attacking this full speed. I have placed the Southern Poverty Law Center contact information in the description section of this YouTube page. I want you all to make sure you give them a call and an email and send them the links to all of these divesters who have been spewing this hateful rhetoric. I want you to make sure you contact the Southern Poverty Law Center and ask them why this so-called divester group is not a hate group. I want you to give them the names of all these people that you all are telling me that are calling them for the death of black men, the aborting of black boys, and referring to black men as bullet bags, and saying things like they are turned on sexually when they see the white cops beating up black men unjustly. These people need to be reported to the Southern Poverty Law Center. We need to get them on this hate group list, because under the definition of what a hate group is, they fit well within that. This is what you can do about it as the YouTube community. You have an obligation to do that. And if any of these folks begin to try to make it into the mainstream, you need to make sure whoever that mainstream media outlet is, that you blow, that you hit their Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, flip-flop, whatever it is they have, and make sure you let them know who these people are. Because this is the type of vine, this type of poisonous vine that we cannot allow to grow. And I get it. They start, oh, we just talking. And then you got other folks saying, oh, well, you know, this is not what I intended it to be. Well, this is what it is now. They say that the gangbangers, right? You know, they said that the Crips and the Bloods were the bastards of the revolution. What does that mean? They said, well, these are just the offspring of the Black Panther Party. When you took the Black Panther Party out of the Black community, young brothers didn't have anything to gravitate to. They started trying to imitate that and emulate what they were doing, and they formed what? The Crips. Then it went left somewhere, went bad. And then guess what happened? Now you got black men getting murdered and killed in places like Alabama and New York, of all places, because of something that started back in the 1970s in LA in the name of a set, in the name of a Roland Curtis Boulevard that they ain't never seen. End up you rolling 60s, rolling this, neighborhood this, Grape Street this. You never even been to LA. And you killing people in the name of something you don't even understand, don't even know how it started. All of that started in the 1970s. That's 40 years ago. And now it's a nationwide problem and a worldwide problem. MS-13, a Salvadorian gang, started in LA, and now it's all the way back in El Salvador. One of the most dangerous gangs in the world, because we didn't nip it in the bud. What I see with this divester community, the crazy people that you're ignoring, these are dangerous people. You think it's going to go away? It's not going to go away. This is an indoctrination. You heard what the young sister said. They want your daughters. They want your black daughters to indoctrinate them with this hateful message, this misandrous, feminist, hateful message that says what? Destroy black male life. And I'm not going for it. And nobody with any sense should be going for it. And any of you black women who loosely support this, you a goddamn fool. You're going to end up on a no-fly list. You're going to end up in the back of somebody's federal penitentiary. You're going to end up getting blackballed, period. This is not a game. When you start causing for the death of other American citizens, I don't give a damn who you think you are. I don't care if you thought it was funny or not. You deserve that. You deserve what you wishing on other people. This is dangerous rhetoric and it needs to be stopped, period. This is headed in a bad direction. Again, this was brought to me. Young lady showed up on my YouTube page talking about she's a divester with a goddamn Confederate flag wrapped around her mouth. You see it in the thumbnail. This is what showed up to me. Now, if you bold enough to come to a lawyer's page who's a phone call away from all the prosecutors, the district attorneys, and all that, and you live in my city, you're a phone call. This is how bold you are. That's dangerous. And it needs to be stopped. I appreciate you guys, man. Make sure you, I got some big donations to get. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate y'all, man. You know, thank you so much for the contributions. And I didn't get a chance to give a big shout out. Darnell Smith, thank you so much. Who else we want to get in here? Project 8020, my guys. I appreciate y'all, man. And who else? I got another big one in here. MS Delta, thank you so much. If you guys appreciate this, everybody on the rebroadcast, make sure you hit the thank you button. It's a little heart sign, contribute. If you appreciate these type of conversations, it's called a super thanks. Hit that little new heart button. Make sure you contribute that way. You can also contribute to the super chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. But other than that, God bless you all. I hope you appreciate this conversation. And shout out to the sister again, Chez. I messed the lady's name up. Chez Kadre. Y'all go check her page out, man. God bless you. This is Uncle D. I'm out.